Could you tell our listeners your daughter's theory about your lack of hair?
Well, I'm not sure which daughter you're referring to because they all of them have. My one daughter said to me once that that you're not bald, Dad. You're just about 3 inches taller than your hair. So.
Right. Well, it says here that you are the father of motivation. How do you like that title?
Well, I'll tell you, I've got 8 kids. I just hope there's no paternity suit on that one. I don't want to be. I don't know if I can handle the father of any more, to tell you the truth. Actually, I started writing these kinds of books back in the early '70s, but I certainly wasn't the very first one to do it. People like Norman Vincent Peale and Napoleon Hill and so on, and Max Maltz had been writing about these kinds of things for a long time. But I think it just sort of brought it into the to the public in a much bigger way. At that time, the world seemed to be ready for it, so that's what they call me. I'll take any title they want to put on me.
Well, over the years, you've written such well-known self-empowerment books, starting with your Erroneous Zones and more recently, 10 Secrets to Success and Inner Peace. If there's one piece of advice you could share with people that could make a difference in their lives, what would it be?
I think it would come, Cliff, from when I was 19, I was given a book to read by my Uncle Bill, and it was called The Death of Ivan Ilyich by Leo Tolstoy. And Ivan Ilyich was a man who every day of his life would go back and forth and do everything that he had been programmed to do. He was living a life that someone else had designated for him. And inside, he wasn't very happy. I mean, he was paying his bills. He was doing what he was told. He was fitting in. He was, he took care of his children, all of those things. But inside, he had this like inner passion to do something else other than be this civil servant that he had become. He got to the end of his life, and it was at the end of the novel. And he's lying on his deathbed, and he looks up at his wife, and he says, "What if my whole life has been wrong?" And then he died. And that was one of the most chilling things I ever heard. And I wrote myself a note. I said, used to write letters to myself. I said, "Dear Wayne, don't die with your music still in you." And I think that's probably the most important lesson you can learn. It was like one of the more powerful things I had to learn in my life is that we show up here for a purpose, that purpose is in our hearts. As Shakespeare said, "Go to thy bosom, knock there, and ask your heart what it doth know." And I'd say listen to your heart instead of what other people have designated you should become.
Well, what would you say to someone who feels like they want to do more to heal the planet, they want to spend more time in meditation, be more successful, and enjoy inner peace, but they feel all their time is consumed by job and family responsibilities?
I would say that that's an attitude that doesn't have to keep you from having all of those things that you just described. That having your job and having your family can be part of what it is that brings you peace and brings you joy. If you think of it as something that is as a chore and that is keeping you from where you would like to be, then you've got to change the way you perceive that or process that, or you've got to change your life. But that happiness, there's no way to happiness. Happiness is the way, and that's the true for everything. There's no way to success. Success is the way. It's not what you get out of life; it's what you bring to life. And you can bring happiness and fulfillment to cleaning out your closet, or gardening, or to changing your baby's diaper. Or you can bring it to, you can bring, like, why do I have to do this, and isn't that terrible, and poor me. It's virtually how you process things in your life that determines your state of happiness, not what you're doing or where you are.
What kind of advice would you give for kind of kicking it into gear?
I think learning to meditate, get quiet. There's a great 13th century poet named Jalaluddin Rumi. He said, "Sell your cleverness and purchase bewilderment." Move yourself into a state of awe and just stop yourself in those kinds of moments where you find yourself engaging in self-pity and self-importance, and connect yourself to God. I think that's the most important lesson that a person can learn. And when people say, "What do you do?" I say, repeat the sound of the name of God over and over to yourself for 10 or 15 seconds in any moment when you're experiencing a problem. I wrote an entire book about this called "There's a Spiritual Solution to Every Problem." In fact, that book came out on the 11th of September in 2001. And there was a full-page ad in USA Today saying exactly that on that day, on Tuesday, the 11th of September, that there's a spiritual solution to every problem. And it's really calling upon spirit and removing your ego from your life and recognizing that there is a connection and something much greater than all of us that connects all of us that we can rely upon at any moment in our lives. And too many of us live our lives assuming that it's our egos and it's our self-importance. And our self-importance is what really keeps us from living higher levels of awareness.